Dan, welcome back to Star News. I'm Mark Childry. Glad to have you here. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll have more on what's going on the coast of North Carolina. A helicopter crashed near a pier. That happened on Thursday, and we've got the Jerry Sandusky trial coming up. A lot of you are glued to the latest developments in that case. All that's coming up in just a little bit. Don't forget, ABC stores in Virginia opening on Sundays starting July the 1st. We've got the details on that, and we'll tell you who in Southside Virginia voted against it. 2 delegates and a state senator. Speaking of Southside Virginia, we now take you to Martinsville, Virginia. That's where it looks like the investigation into that apartment fire that we reported on extensively on Thursday. There's some new developments in that particular case. Star News' own Charles Rourke joins me by telephone from our studios in Martinsville at WMDV. And Charles, this was some phenomenal video that was shot yesterday. It was really scary looking because you see these huge puffs of smoke coming out of these windows and even flames. And that's really scary, but it's even more scary when you think about that this was at a place where older people live and people that may have health problems.
Right, Mark. We're learning more information today. Star News is the only station that has this video from the backside. We actually can see the fire. What I can tell you today, Mark, is that the officials are saying that even though it looks like one apartment that was affected, they're now saying that 36 of the apartments in this building were affected in some way, somehow, by this fire that took place on Thursday afternoon. So it looks like that 36 of the apartments have some type of damage from this event. And of course, that's creating a lot of problems. Over 100 people were displaced in the situation. We understand that a good majority of them are either staying in hotels or with family members. There are about 30 that they're still dealing with today, and hopefully they won't have to stay at the middle school again tonight. But they're working on that right now. I can tell you, Mark, I've never seen such a good effort of officials really doing a good job trying to make sure that this gets handled. You know, from the beginning to now, it's been amazing how well they've done in coordinating all this. Because if you got 100 people without homes and so forth, you really have to work hard. And they've really been working, throughout the late night hours trying to fix this. There's a new development in the story. There have been no charges yet, but the fire marshal is already coming out with a person of interest, and we believe this to be the owner of the apartment. Her name is Cheryl Lemons. She is a resident of apartment 303. And they are now officially telling us that she is the person of interest. And the reason that it's going to take some time before she's officially charged, from what we understand, is she's in the Martinsville Hospital Psychiatric Ward at this point. And that's the reason that they can't charge her officially, because they haven't been able to speak with her.
Right.
And they say it's going to take about a week before they can communicate with her and move forward with the charges. But it's kind of unusual in a case like this, but they've already come to the media and told us that Cheryl Lemons is the person of interest.
Charles, when we talk about, you just mentioned a few moments ago that there were over 100 people affected in their 36 apartments in this, we're probably talking about a lot of smoke, I would think, and a lot of heat damage, considering you can see these flames coming out of these windows, and you see the smoke even coming out in huge billows of smoke, and then you see this debris that's falling on the ground, this hot debris. So I'm assuming that there must be a lot of smoke and heat damage.
Right. And from what I understand, the fire marshal is saying is that they determined it was arson pretty quickly by looking at some physical evidence inside the apartment, because they got the fire out within an hour or two of this happening, and by the end of the day they were actually able to go in and determine that it was arson. And traditionally that takes 2 or 3 days, but they were on this case because when the report initially came in,
right,
we were being very cautious, but when we heard the scanner reports, we heard them say a woman has set a fire and she has called the police. We were very careful on reporting the story after that, because we didn't know, because traditionally if someone sets a fire, they don't call the police.
Right.
So we were being really cautious, but that was the first alert that we heard that we got all of our folks in news mode, as we call it. But that's what we initially heard. We kind of backed off a little bit, and then as the charges, as the fire marshal came out with the arson, it kind of came all together how all this took place. I can tell you, I've talked with some of the residents there, and we've had some of our reporters talking to people over there. They're a little concerned about this, and some of them are pretty upset about it because they feel like the management knew that there were some problems in this area, and they didn't react quick enough. So the next few days or the next weeks or two are going to really kind of be an eye-opener to see what happens with the residents, because I know there are a few that are a little upset that this woman was even allowed to stay there.
Charles, this really has to disrupt the lives of these people there. I know that based on what Bob was telling me just yesterday, that there are people there, some of them are on walkers and canes and wheelchairs. This really has to be disruptive to the lives of these people, and we pretty much, it's speculation, but we can pretty much say here that it's safe to assume that a lot of these people are taking medications and treatments for medical issues. So what happens to them? I mean, they're now staying at a middle school, but how long can that last?
Well, I can tell you the officials are really working hard to keep that from happening as well. It might happen one more time tonight if they can't get everybody placed. But I think, from what I can tell, their officials are working pretty hard to make sure that these folks have a hotel room to stay with. I know they're working with all the agencies that handle this kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's just a real effort to make sure that these people are comfortable, and I think they're really working hard to do that. It took 3 buses to get them to different locations and so forth. And Mark, there's one thing I got to tell you. We report news day in and day out, and it's rare that you see something go this smooth. If you remember, Bob Sharp was talking about this yesterday, just how smooth this event went.
Right.
Apparently, they'd actually done some training at this particular spot, knowing that there were elderly folks staying here.
Right.
And all this effort, I think, really paid off in yesterday's event, because no one lost their life yesterday, even the lady who set her own apartment on fire.
Well,
or accused of setting an apartment on fire.
And I think that is such a testament to the training that these guys and ladies have to go through to make sure that these go off without a hitch. And so that does say a lot about what happened there yesterday. So our hats off to them. And this could have been much, much worse. These are the things that you see on news.
Our video shows officers going inside the building without fire gear on. And from what I understand, we have one picture of someone taking a resident out, but from what we understand, there were stories of many residents that were taken out on top of folks' shoulders, to make sure they got out of that building.
Right. Charles, thank you for the follow-up on this, and we will be watching to keep an eye on this. There you see the people as they're leaving the apartment complex. They're headed off to new digs, you might say, I guess, until they can get everything organized and together. And so we'll be following up on this, and as soon as there's new developments in this, I know we'll bring it to the viewers.
You bet. And this is a story I plan to stay on all weekend and doing updates on all stations throughout the weekend on this story, because it affects so many people.
All right, Charles. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate your coverage on this, and we'll be watching for your coverage all weekend. And that's Star News' own Charles Rourke reporting from WMDV 44.1 in Martinsville, Virginia. And there you see that outstanding video that shows those people. And again, hats off to the fast work of the men and women of the fire departments. And we could see police officers, and even I think it looked like Sheriff Draper was there with his back to the camera there at one time. So good job on behalf of all of those and the staff there at the apartment complex.